Story 1. Am I the a-hole for disabling my boyfriend's access to my Peloton account when he wasn't talking to me? So, my boyfriend has had a rough 2020 because he loves to travel, and he got laid off from his job at a very big commercial airline that allowed him to travel the world for free. Learning his uncle was diagnosed with cancer in December just added insult to injury. He went into a pretty deep depression and gained a considerable amount of weight, and I've tried to be supportive by letting him use all of my memberships for free so he can save money while he looks for a job. I've been cooking healthy meals, and I gave him access to my Peloton account so he could do his own workouts from home while I'm at work. We got into a really big argument last week because I fell asleep during a movie. This is his pet peeve, and there have been times in the past where he has stormed out of my place because I've fallen asleep during movies or shows he suggested. When we were in therapy at one point, he said when I fell asleep, it makes him feel like I'm disengaged, and I totally respected that and promised I would inform him when I was either too tired to watch something or was getting sleepy while we were watching something. Last weekend, he suggested we watch a documentary, and 15 minutes into the documentary, he asked me if I was falling asleep, and I said I was getting sleepy, but I wasn't sleeping. 2 minutes later, he insisted that I was sleeping. He said he could hear me breathing loudly, and when I denied it, he accused me of lying about falling asleep. He said the problem wasn't that I was sleeping, it was that I was lying about it. I told him I was tired and didn't want to deal with this tantrum, and we called it a night. When I texted him the following morning, I didn't hear back from him, so I started getting worried. I saw that he had accessed my Peloton account less than an hour before and figured maybe he's still upset and he just needs some space. But he didn't call or text me back that day for 5 days and continued to use my account each of those 5 days. When I still haven't heard a word from him after 5 days, I disabled his access to my account. He accused me of being emotionally abusive when I did that. According to him, I should have known he's not in a good place right now and might need some space. He claimed to be doing some 14-day mind-body meditation challenge that I interfered with. I felt bad, but I told him he could have communicated that to me, but since he chose to ghost me instead, I had no way of knowing. Am I the a-hole? I'd say you're both being the a-hole. You're both being kind of petty. I think he was overreacting. The girl was saying she was sleepy, and he should have taken that. He should have taken that to heart. And she could see that he was using the Peloton account. Did it cost her any more to have him on it? Maybe he just did need a little more space than maybe 5 days. Did you text any warning that you were going to disable the account if you didn't talk? Maybe there's that too. Story 2. Got told to take off by my assignment group, and that's just what I did. I do a computer science degree at university. We had a group work project which was set out in 2 stages. Part A involved making an application and writing a report about it. 50-50 split. Part B, we got feedback from Part A and had to improve upon it. In total, it was 100% of a module. It's also important to note that there's a group contribution report, GCR, where each student puts in how much they think each student has done. I was in a randomly selected group with 4 others. We each picked a part of the work that we wanted to do. I was apparently the group's most competent coder, so assigned myself about half of the code, and finish up my work in about the first 3 weeks and work on other projects I have for other modules. Then, soon after I finished my work, the others asked me if I can do their parts of the code too. I initially protest, as I have other coursework due, but eventually I say, fine, but so long as it's noted in the GCR, they all agree. I sweated out over the next 3 weeks or so alongside my other coursework. I contacted my module organizer explaining that I had done half the work, and they suggested that if people weren't pulling their weight, to leave the group, taking my code with me, and do the report. That would mean I would need to work flat out to produce the report and probably would mess it up. I didn't want that. The deadline was in about a week, and honestly, I'm CBA. Then I got asked to do some reports too, because they didn't understand how the code worked. By this point, I felt pretty used by them. Didn't really mind so long as I got the marks. All in all, I worked out that I had done the workload of 3 people. There was talk amongst the others of all writing that we each contributed 20% of the workload to make us look better as a team. I flatly refused. They exploded, calling me every name under the sun, swearing at me, telling me to take off. I sent off my GCR with 60 for me and 10 each for the rest, and thought that was that. My module organizer then emailed me asking if I had any proof of this, as they all put me at 0% and themselves at 25%. I worked my butt off on this project, putting in 150 plus hours on the code and another 50 plus on the diagrams and report, all while attending lectures 20 hours a week and over 7 weeks, which, if you do that math, averages at an extra 4 hours a day, on top of all my other assignments and commitments, etc. There was no way I was letting it slide. I emailed him back, linking him to the GitHub I used to share the code with the team. GitHub is a source control that shows who made changes to the code, and showed him that all the commits, versions of the code, were done by me, proving that I did all of it. And thankfully, we did the whole report on Google Drive, so I could also see the history on that document and send him screenshots of all the alterations made by me, proving that I wrote about 20% of the report also. He added it all up and made a special exception for my group, saying he would give me most credit for the work. I think I ended up with a 65, and they all got 11 for the whole coursework Part A. They would need 69% to even pass the module. So turned out, I messed up a bit on the code, only getting about 50% of the marks with like a massive issue in it. Dumb me. For anyone interested, I didn't make an MVC structure correctly, but my report sections were near perfect. Spelling mistakes, a common thing to do, and formatting, etc. There were a few glaring mistakes from the report that they had written, but other than that, not bad. When they found out their marks, they started calling me up and emailing me and messaging me almost for about 3 hours. I was happily out at the time and didn't have my phone with me, so didn't respond. My module organizer sent an email explaining that they had lied and he had proof about it, so corrected the marks accordingly. When I got back to my phone, I screenshot all the messages they had sent and recorded all the voicemails, including the ones they had sent previously, including multiple occasions where everyone in the group told me to take off. And take off I did. I sent all of these voicemails and screenshots to my module organizer requesting that I leave my group and understand that it is more work for me, but I'd rather not deal with that. He agreed and also escalated the messages to someone higher up. At this point, I quit the group and decided to work on Part B by myself, taking all of my code with me, removing their access to all of it. I, of course, asked my module organizer first, and they said it was fine as it was my work, and if I was no longer in the group, the others couldn't submit it. I fixed the error in the code in about 2 weeks, then did the whole report from scratch, almost, and added a load about the fix taking me about 7 weeks. I then get messages from the group to please come back, we really need you kind of stuff on the end few days of the assignment. They even offered to pay me. I screenshot it and sent it to the module organizer, just to let him know what's happening, and then just ignore it. I ended up submitting 2 weeks early for the deadline and got 100% on the whole Section 2, which is basically unheard of at university, especially by yourself or work group. Later that day, I got an email from a plagiarism and collusion officer. Not someone you ever want to get an email from. Basically saying I'm summoned to a hearing as an external body looked at both my group, me, myself, and my old group's coursework and thought it was very similar. I get the whole project that my group handed in and my own back as evidence so I can look and prepare my answer to their questions. I email my module organizer and ask if he supports me in this because basically they can punish all of you or one group, never nobody. He says yes, and he supports me in this. Perfect. I prepare for this meeting by going through the hundreds of commits I've made while they had access to find the one that is most similar to it. I find a perfect match. 0 differences. Not even a single character through the thousands of lines of code. So I turn up to this meeting. There is the VP of computing there, guy who could basically do whatever the hell he wants to us. My old group, when asked to present their answer as to why this has happened, go on about how they did all of it by themselves, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Then I'm asked to present my argument. I ask if I can share my screen. VP. Yeah, okay. Puzzled. So I will share it. Show all the screenshots I took, as some of the people in the meeting weren't aware that we knew each other, including them basically begging for me to come back, offering money. And as if that wasn't enough to convince them, I then showed me downloading a fresh version of what they submitted, and a fresh version of one of my commits on the GitHub, and running it through a trusted comparison software. I narrated this to explain what I was doing just to be clear. Took a while, but came up as I knew it would make 0 differences. Everyone was stunned. One of the group members uttered, "But," I just laughed, and was quickly asked to hang up as I was no longer involved. Turned out they had cloned one of my commits and still had a copy on their laptop when I blocked their access. I was not able to fix it all, so I just submitted it and hoped for the best. One of my friends, who is friends with one from my old group, asked what grade they got, and they said that they failed the whole module as they got a 0 for the second section, giving them just 5.5% overall for the module. You need 40 to pass. And would have to retake it over the summer, costing them and everyone in my old group their placement year jobs. After all, who wants someone who failed a module so badly and who was intellectually dishonest working for them? This means that they all lost out on being paid $20,000 each for the year's work, which goes a long way for a uni student, while I happily get mine. Document everything. Keep track. Keep the receipts. I always like that phrase, keep the receipts, especially the way this person was doing it after they were relying on him just to do all this code and then trying to freeze him out and take all the credit. This person handled it really well. And he ended up showing them up by doing everything himself on a group project 2 weeks early. Really impressive. He should be able to get whatever job he wants after that.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 3. My husband peed on my wedding dress the night of our wedding. I still have no idea what the hell is going on in his head to think that this was nothing or no big deal. He literally peed on my wedding dress the night of our wedding, inside the hotel room. I yelled at him, "What the hell?" constantly, and he nonchalantly said that he was just marking his territory and went on about how he's been wanting to do this when he gets married and that he didn't tell me because he was positively 100% sure I'd get mad at him, but he said it's worth it since he got to do it. I couldn't believe it, but he assured me that pee washes off easily and I shouldn't worry, but I was just so mad and disgusted by what he's done. He acted like nothing happened and was actually expecting intimacy, but I told him off. I just can't get rid of the awful feeling in sight. I couldn't even sleep in the bed with him after that. He knows he was foul. He didn't tell her. And why? Are you dogs? Marking your territory like that? You think you're marking your territory? This is a dress that women dream about all their lives. And a very, very small percentage involve urine in that vision of theirs, in any form. Maybe one or two, but almost no one expects urine on their wedding dress. It's no. What the hell?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.